Okay, this is a brief video that elaborates on general instructions for most of the assignments in my classes. So the first thing that we have to really take issue with is following directions. And in the past, it's been just terrible. Some students don't know how to either read or follow directions. Rest assured, we'll get you to the point after this course is done. If that is a problem, you'll be able to overcome it. Let's look at this assignment here. It says, for this assignment, you will conduct internet research on monster.com or LinkedIn. And it says, complete the assigned readings for the unit. So what you want to do is read the book and try to integrate the book with the assignment at the end of the chapter. Okay, another thing we have to take consideration of is the deliverables. The deliverables for this assignment are a Word document that's not a PDF. It's a Word document that's double-spaced, 12-point times New Roman font that's not Arial, and written in APA format with 1-inch margins. Be sure to cite any sources using APA style and formatting. Single space the references on the reference page and paraphrase only. That means no cutting and pasting or quoting and giving a page number with your citation. So in essence, I don't want to, these assignments are not cut and paste. Okay, when you have completed the work, please attach it to the appropriate Dropbox. Last semester, I had students that would email me the assignments. That is a no-no. You email me the assignment, I'm going to email it right back to you and tell you that you have to upload it to the Moodle Dropbox, which means that you have to know how to use Moodle. And if you don't know how to use Moodle, please contact Joyce Devonshire. She will be more than happy to work with you on that. Moodle, of course, is integral with online learning. So it's imperative that you know and be able to follow a course shell in Moodle. How many citations should you have from various different sources? And I have listed here at least one from your book. Perhaps, and I would recommend that you have at least another one using an external source, a website, an article. In this instance, if you're using a monster.com and LinkedIn, those would be two perfect examples of websites. If you're using both of them, you would have to cite both of them. Moving on to the next slide. Please follow the directions again. This is a little bit different here. Here we have actually in the deliverable section, okay, the deliverable section, you have to upload both a spreadsheet using formulas, calculations, and proper sorting of data, along with a what? A Word document that describes what you did, what the results were, how it impacted the results. So the results of the assignment. So it says using a spreadsheet, analyze the data. So in analyzing the data, what did you come up with? So in essence, you have two files that need to be uploaded. And basically, if the Dropbox only allows you to upload one assignment, you're going to create a compressed folder, a zip folder, and put both files into that folder, and then upload the compressed folder to the appropriate Dropbox. Now, if you don't know how to do something like, create a zip folder or a compressed file folder, what will you do? Normally, you would go to Google and just Google that. It's pretty easy. All what you do is just right-click, create a new folder, a compressed folder, drag your files into that compressed folder, label the compressed folder appropriately, and then upload that particular folder, or it'll actually be a file to the Dropbox, and I'll get both of those files within that compressed file folder. Okay, moving on to the next slide. This slide elaborates a little bit on some of the writing and how to use Microsoft Word. Believe it or not, I have many students who just don't know how to use Word, and it's very disappointing. I mean, especially in a master's course, not being able to use a first line indent on your paragraphs just shows me that you probably didn't have a computer competency course in your undergraduate program. And what I get is if you start using tabs, there's additional line spacing that appears between the paragraphs, along with this right here, which is the title page and section headings, which we're going to do after that. But I'm going to bring up Microsoft Word. And essentially what we have here is a Word document, but I want to see whether or not this student used a tab or a first line indent. So what I'll do is I'll go up here and I'll actually click on this show hide non-printing characters. See that right there? And that tells me this student used a tab. And the problem with that is that if we check the line spacing here, the line spacing is proper here. It's double spaced. It's double spaced here. It's double spaced here in this next one. But if we come down to here, there is additional spacing between the paragraphs, and that was caused by using a tab. So how do I actually eliminate that particular line spacing? I would go up to paragraph, go over to more, the more button here, and it opens up the paragraph dialog box, and we can see after it's set at 8 points. There's an extra 8 points of line spacing between these paragraphs. I'm going to set that to 0 and say OK, and you'll see it moved up. So now that is 0. So what do we do on first line indent? I'm going to get rid of this tab, and I'm going to come up to paragraph, and then I'm going to actually go to special, and I'm going to go first line, and then OK. And now we have a first line indent. Notice I have the show hide on. There is no tab here. And every time now that I come to the end of the paragraph and I actually hit the enter key, it starts automatically a new paragraph for me. So in essence, you don't need to keep tabbing all the time. And see here, it looks like there's some extra space between these two paragraphs here. So again, I'm going to go up and paragraph, and yes, she has 8 points of extra space, and that fixed that. Another thing that we should be concerned with is the use of bullets. Bullets are not really appropriate in a short report. So what you would want to do is just put this in sentence structure. I see that here she has another tab, and that can be fixed. But what I'd like to get into now is this kind of stuff here. She's got extra paragraph spacing and her references on the same page. So what I'm going to do is actually click right over that paragraph button, delete this stuff, come up to here, and we're going to do a Control-Enter. Control plus Enter key, and that's going to give us a hard page break or next page break. And here we have references. So references, and again, I would prefer that these would be single space. So I'm selecting this, and a Control-1 will give me single space with a hanging indent. She has this right. If we go up to paragraph, it's selected. I go up to paragraph, and actually I see it under special, it's hanging indent. Remember, if you don't know how to do some of this stuff, what you would do is go to Google and just Google first line indent, Google hanging indent, and find a good video on this. What I'm going to do here is come up and make a quick title page with page numbers. I'm going to select this. This has to be really on a title page. I'm going to go Control-X, which is cut, and I'm going to do a Control-Enter, which gives us a new page up here. And I'm going to space down about midway and do a Control-V, which is paste. I'm going to select all of this and actually hit the center button, and there we go. So that's how you do that. And of course, what we do is you don't have to have for APA any longer, for APA 7. You don't need a running head, okay? So you just need to go to the second page, double click up here on the top of the page, and we're going to enter in or insert a page number. So I guess it's clicked on file. I can do it from here. And I want it at the top of the page. And I want it over here. And we're going to say different first page. So then we don't get the actual page number showing up on the title page. That's never a good thing, by the way. So here's where our page number starts. And then, of course, we come down page 3, and there's our hard page break separating the reference section. And now what I'm going to do is take a quick look at some of this student's writing. So, and before I do that, I'm going to go back into the PowerPoint, because the PowerPoint's going to elaborate a little bit on how you should actually structure your writing. So what I like for you to do is to make sure that you're using subsections, okay? So what I would like is a quick section on problem identification, in essence, what your paper will accomplish. Also, another section relating to the history, background information, or you could label it research. And then, of course, you would have an analysis section. You might only have a paragraph or 2 paragraphs in the analysis section. And then you might have, okay, for the solution, you'll have one maybe called recommendations. That would be another section. And then finally, you would have what I would call a soft conclusion. Just your general findings. Only has to be 2 or 3 sentences. And what's very important here is that you should be very concise and formal in your writing. And APA stipulates that you need to write in the third person. So if I bring this paper back up here, we're going to find that there are some mistakes. This student says, for this assignment, I was asked to research positions in sales, marketing, finance, and human resources to find jobs that require information systems knowledge. Well, the first thing we really need to do here is to add problem identification, and we would want to probably bold that, and that's a section heading. So here you would describe what you're going to actually accomplish in this assignment. So the mistake here is, for this assignment I was asked, you just say the United States. The assignment will accomplish, and then will accomplish, researching positions in sales, finance, human resources to find jobs, blah, blah, blah. Okay? So remember, this has to be written in the third person. No use of I, you, we, and so forth. So going through here again, in other words, you would probably not use these bullets, and you would use actual sentences. So that would be something. Now you would want to go back and find out what's our second section is a history or research. So let's do that. And I'm going to go back here. I'm going to have to actually indent. So I'm going to move my ruler back to here. And our second section is going to be research. Double click that, bold it, and so forth. So we have our problem identification, research, and so forth, and it's all written in the third person. This particular student is missing other sections. Paper's really not long enough. It's not well developed because of the lack of sections. That's why, it's incumbent upon students to be able to communicate well in business. Okay, so, and you have to be organized. I don't care what course you're writing a paper for, if you structure it according to this particular outline here, you're never going to run into a problem. You're going to have problem identification, which is your introduction. You're going to have a history or a background, which is going to come from your research. You're going to analyze that research. What did you actually find? And then you might have multiple solutions, and then you pick the best one. So you pick the best recommendation, and you always try to point out what are the benefits of this particular solution and what could be the potential detriments. So, what are the negatives? And then, of course, you come up with your little conclusion, and your very last section is going to be your reference page. So I've also included some additional resources here. This is a very good video on title page and section headings and so forth. So let's get to the very last slide. We already went over use of first line indent. Don't use tabs. If you haven't watched the video in its entirety and I find out that you're using tabs, and I come to the show hide and I see a tab being used, I'm just going to tell you, do it over. Get rid of your tabs and use those first line indents. Just shows that you really know what you're doing. Concise, formal, technical writing style. Again, writing in the third person. Unless specified, there is an assignment that I do allow you to use the first person, but then this is following directions. So if you're able to follow the directions and it tells you can write in the first, it doesn't say you have to write in the first person, but you can write in the first person and maybe one or two of these assignments. Grammar is important. I would like to make sure that you don't have like run-on sentences. Explicitly tell you, no bulleting, no numbering, and that kind of thing. Just write about it. Acronyms, like if you're using IT, you must spell it out first. So you would have information technology and then open up parentheses, IT, and then close parentheses. And then you can use IT throughout the paper. You don't have to use information technology anymore. So here's a couple of really good videos on how to do citations and how to do references if you need those. So thank you for listening to this short video. And if you have any questions, just let me know. The main reason why I had to do this video is I want a consistent writing style. Yes, the bottom line here is just to make sure that you follow the directions and write good papers. I'm sure you'll do well. For those of you who perhaps are a little bit efficient in your grammar and writing, please have your papers read by someone. Okay, so you can take your papers to the Teaching and Learning Center. You can potentially find someone who has a graduate degree and have them read your papers. But fact of the matter is, I don't want to have to correct your English. Okay, so, put the time in, dot the I's, cross the T's. Thank you.